طاعته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أحبتي الكرام، طبتم وطاب ممشاكم وتبوأتم من الجنة منزلا. أسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم أن يجزيكم الجزاء الأوفى. I ask and I beg of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you all and to bless your efforts for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to bless every ounce of energy that you've expended for His ta'ah, for His obedience, to bless your journey throughout this dunya in His obedience. And know and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you the highest reward, for you left the comfort of your homes, the warmth of your homes. Perhaps you've put aside your dinner just to come to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْجَزَاءُ مِنْ جِنْسِ الْعَمَلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards by that which you strive for. So if you left your home, you've come to a better home, the home of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a better home awaits you in Jannat al-Na'im. And if you left the food and the comfort of your home, you, inshaAllah, bi'idhnillahi jalla wa ala, you will be rewarded by the comforts and the foods of Jannah. And this is what we need to remind each other with. Umar radiallahu anhu warḍah, he says, مِنَ السُّنَنِ الْمَجْهُولَةِ, from the lost sunan is that we don't thank each other for the ta'ah. The Sahaba, they used to thank each other, congratulate each other based on the obedience and the energy that they put forward towards the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So barakallahu feekum. First, I would like to thank you all. We will keep it short and sweet. I know that, and this dawned on me a few years ago because we had to reschedule our halaqat to after Isha. There is a hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam naha عن الحديث بعد صلاة العشاء. He advised against speaking after Salat al-Isha, holding dars, for example, or halaqa. Now, there's two types of nahi. نهي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يفترق إلى اثنين. نهي تحريم ونهي كراهة. والأصل التحريم. When Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم tells us not to do something, the root or the usual, the general consensus is that it is tahrim. But there are some instances where it's nahi karaha, meaning it's disliked. Okay? And for this instance, we have to look at the maqsad. What is the reason, the basis behind the nahi of speaking after Isha? What do you think the reason is? Anyone? Why would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to avoid speaking after Isha? Anyone?
Because you don't get time to sleep well and you don't need to go for
Ahsant. The ulama, they said, because after Isha, the general understanding or the general rule was the men would retire to their homes, and that would be a time for them to rest and reprieve with their families and to take a break from the dunya, in the sense to restore their energy for Salat al-Fajr. And by the way, this was the sunnah that they would sleep right away after. They wouldn't spend long nights on Netflix, or YouTube like we do. Because even if you went home right now, it's 7:20 p.m., you're going to be watching TV, you're going to be scrolling through YouTube and all this, Netflix, and then what happens? You go to sleep at 1 a.m., huh? And then you sleep past Fajr. But right now, if you miss Fajr, something is wrong with you. Because it's literally at the break of dawn, is subhanAllah. Anyone can wake up for it. So make sure to get enough rest in order to wake up for it. But the nahi here, and the reason why I wanted to mention it, is that in our situation, Isha is now at 6, it enters at 6, but we're praying at 7 p.m. So there's lots of time. But again, we're going to keep it very short and sweet in order for us to go home, to get some well-needed supper and rest, inshallah. We're going to continue with the seerah of Ibn Sireen, rahmatullahi alayhi. And we mentioned, just to recap for the brothers that weren't here, we're going through the seerah of the Salaf, the biography of the pious predecessors. And we've mentioned many of them. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, so many of them. Who did we mention? Ibn Jubayr, Shaykh Hassan al-Basri. And now we are with one of the companions of Shaykh Hassan al-Basri, who is named Muhammad ibn Sireen. Muhammad ibn Sireen was a tabi'i jaleel. He was a muhaddith, he took narrations from the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim. He was a hafiz, he was a mufassir, he was a faqih, and the many of the tabi'een and the Sahaba considered him to be thiqah, a solid man in terms of knowledge. And we mentioned one important fact about him. Did he ever write any books? He never wrote a single book. Muhammad ibn Sireen never wrote a single book. And the reason for this we mentioned as to why. Because he followed in the methodology of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu warḍah, that they used to memorize, not to write. And we said that the book that is so famously attributed to him, Ta'bir al-Ru'a an Ibn Sireen, that is not from his works. That is not from his works. And we mentioned that a lot of people, they will delve into the realm of dreams and dream interpretation because it's an interesting field. You know, the unknown is always interesting. SubhanAllah, when growing up, this was an interesting aspect that if the Shaykh was talking about the jinn, everyone would huddled around, you know, or Yawm al-Qiyamah, or the signs of the hereafter. But if he was talking about Maqasid al-Sharia or al-Tahara, we all know how to make wudu, you know. Why is he talking about this? Or you know, the etiquettes of fasting, or the arkan of salah. We all know this. La. This is the deen. The deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has qiyam, has aspects that we need to learn and to grasp. And when it comes to the ghaybiyat, yes, it is interesting, but we said that when it comes to the unseen matters, there's a qaida usuliyya that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah live by. Who can remember that qaida? لما نأتي للغيبيات, I know you know it.
All three?
Just the last one. When
the
it
last
comes
one is that when it comes to ilm al-ghaib, we take the text, but we don't ask why.
We don't ask why, we don't ask how. Ahsan. So when it comes to الغيبيات, نقف حينما يقف النص ولا مجال للعقل استقلالا في فقه الغيبيات إنما العقل يتبع النقل. So when it comes to the unseen matters, the malaika, the jinn, the hereafter, al-qada wal-qadar, all of these aspects, we don't go into a realm of imagination and maybe, and how did the angels have 600 wings? And how does one wing stretch from the east to the west? No, we don't ask these questions. We find it's authentic in the Quran and the Sunnah, we stop right there. The mind does not lead the facts. We stop where the facts start. That's it. So when it comes to the unseen matters, we have to believe in them. معظم الدين غيبي. The majority of the aspects in our deen are unseen or unknown. But we have to believe in them. And we believe in them as the Shara, as the Quran and the Sunnah stipulate. So we mentioned that Muhammad ibn Sireen rahmatullah alayhi, he was known for Ta'bir al-Ru'a. But he was also noted for his wari'. He was a very honest man, very straightforward. And we mentioned the story where he lost thousands of dirhams because he wanted to safeguard the Muslims. When he bought the stockpile of oil and there was a mouse found in the oil, so he disregarded the entire batch. And he went into debt subsequently. And we also went into the kinds of dreams that he interpreted. The most famous one, and you guys should all remember this one, when the two came to him, one of them said, Ya Shaykh, I saw a dream where I was making adhan. And he gave him the tafsir of the ru'ya. And then the other man came and he says, I had a dream that I was making adhan, and he gave him a different tafsir. So the first man, he said, was a person known to be a salih. He was a pious man. كان من المصلين من الجماعة. So he said, بإذن you will go to Hajj. And the second man, he was known to be a fasiq, a man who had a quick hand. He used to steal a lot. So he said, you will steal and your hand will be cut. And when the students of knowledge, they asked him, Ya Shaykh, how could you give two different interpretations for the same type of dream? He said, it is based and relevant upon the person. And this is why we said, you can't just go to Sheikh Google and say, I saw a bird flying, it was white, and it was a beautiful day, and then they'll give you the interpretation of the dream. No. It's based on your character, it's based on who you are. So, I think we left here. A man came to Ibn Sireen, and he said, please, Ya Shaykh, help me understand my dream. And he said, in my dream, I was carrying a vessel of water on my head, a glass vessel. And that vessel broke, but the water remained in its position. Before the man finished, Ibn Sireen, rahmatullahi alayhi, he said, stop. Qif. He says, innaka takdib. He says, you are telling a lie. He says, you are telling a lie. The man said, no. He says, you are telling a lie. And this gives us an important insight into the dreams. If you dream of something that is completely irrational, then it is either min ash-shaytan or it is a fabrication. Okay? And this happened during the ahd of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu ardah. When a man came to him, I believe, and he said, I saw my head being chopped and I could see myself and my body was separate. He says, kadab. And this man, in this instance, was also lying. So Muhammad ibn Sireen, he said to him, kadabt. He says, walakin, the man, he says, no, I'm telling the truth. He didn't want to go back and state the fact that yes, he was lying. And this is, ya ikhwan, this is very dangerous, by the way. Very dangerous. لأن البلاء موكل بالمنطق. This is another قاعدة أصولية على أهل السنة والجماعة. What you say will be used against you, not by the court of law, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Shaykh Muhammad ibn Sireen, he told the man, he says, you are lying, but be careful because even though you're lying, it might come true. And the man didn't want to take it back. He says, no, I'm telling the truth. He says, then if you are and you're not, he says, your wife will be pregnant and she will die at giving birth. And exactly how it happened. The man was lying, but his wife was pregnant, and when she was giving birth, she died in the water. The son was born. Al-bala'u mukilun bil-mantiq. So be careful of what you say. A lot of us, we have the tendency to be pessimistic or negative. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في الصحيح, he says, من قال هلك الناس فهو أهلكهم وفي رواية فهو أهلكهم. Whoever says the people are doomed, that's it, it's over, give up, the Muslim Ummah is done, we're weak, we're nothing, give up, فشلنا, he is the one who is doomed. في قراءة. And in another narration, he is the one who doomed the Ummah. فالبلاء موكل بالمنطق. What you say of bad or negativity, you will actually come to fruition. They say in Arabic, don't speak about the hole, the monster, for it will appear. And this is exactly where this qaida usuliyya comes from. يعني من الأصول. Another man, he came to Shaykh Muhammad ibn Sireen. He says, Ya Shaykh, he says, Istaftini. He says, I had a dream where me and my friends, my companions, were following the janazah. But it was no ordinary janazah, it was the janazah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Shaykh ibn Sireen, he said, you and your friends are mubtadi'ah. You are upon innovation, and you are trying to eliminate the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And subhanallah, that man, he said, I was following the Khawarij. I began to follow the Khawarij. And from that dream, he understood that they were upon dalal. And obviously, you know, the Khawarij are firqa dhalna mudilla. These are the worst of people, nasallallahu al-afwa wal-afiyah. A man came to Shaykh Muhammad ibn Sireen. He said, I saw a najm, Thuraya. Thuraya is a major constellation that is known by the Arabs. And it preceded Al-Jawza, another constellation, another star, 2 stars. So he said one came and then the other, Al-Jawza, which is smaller, came after it. Shaykh Muhammad ibn Sireen, he says, ذلك الحسن البصري rahmatullah alayhi. He says that Thuraya, the big star, is Al-Hasan al-Basri, and he will die before me. For I am Al-Jawza, I will come after him, meaning I will die after him. And subhanallah, 100 days after the death of Shaykh al-Basri, Hasan al-Basri, Muhammad ibn Sireen passed away. 100 days. Now don't think of it like this man knew ilm al-ghayb. لا 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 لا. لا يعلم الغيب إلا الله عز وجل. ولكن There are signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends His slaves for them to لكي يزدادوا إيمانا. Another man, we'll do the last one inshallah. Another man came to Shaykh Muhammad and he says, Ya Shaykh, he said, رأيت في المنام رؤية وقد قيل لي في الرؤيا شفاؤك ما بين لا ولا. Meaning, I saw in a dream that a person came to me and told me that your cure is between la and la. When we hear this, we don't understand. But just to give you an insight of the hikmah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave these men, rahmatullah alayhim. قال الشيخ قال عليك بالزيت زيتون. Your cure is زيت زيتون, the olive oil. And he said, this is clear and evident from قول الله عز وجل لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار. So in the ayah الله نور على نور الله نور السماوات والأرض ما بين لا ولا is زيت الزيتون لا شرقية ولا غربية. So this is his cure for this man because he was ill, subhanallah. So again, just so you understand that interpretation or dream interpretation is not something you can just go to school for. La. You need the understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah, and on top of that you need ilham, which is an insight, a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best example that we have from the Quran and the Sunnah that embodied or envisioned this was Yousuf alayhi salam. If you look at the stories of the Anbiya and the Rusul, they all had exemplary traits and aspects about them. وَكُلُّهُمْ they all came to their people with ayat, with signs, mu'jizat, things that were apparent and visible and striking. Amongst the signs that Yousuf alayhi salatu wasalam was given was ta'bir al-ru'a, was the interpretation of dreams. And in the first, and right away, as soon as you start the story, إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبتي إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. Did you ever just imagine this? How is it that you can just imagine or envision that you see 11 stars, the sun and the moon in a position of prostration? How do they prostrate? How does the sun, the moon, and 11 stars prostrate? How? شيء عجيب. And this is why the ru'ya of the Anbiya and the Rusul is profound. It is profound. And the ru'ya of every prophet is absolute truth, absolute fact. Because it was a direct wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you see this, you understand that these were no ordinary dreams. And this is why Yaqub alayhi salam, he said to him, he says, قال يا بني لا تقصص رؤياك. Don't share this ru'ya. He confirmed with him that what he saw was a ru'ya, not just any ordinary dream. It is a ru'ya. He says, and don't share it with your brethren. And this goes back to the etiquette of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When one of us has a ru'ya, which is a bushra, something good, share it with those who you love. Share it with those that are closest to you. Don't share it with just anyone, and don't share it with people that might have an animosity towards you, or a huqd towards you, wal-iyadu billah, or a hasad. So he says to his son, he says, Yusuf, لا تقصص رؤياك. Ya bunay, don't share this with your brothers. He knows that they have a deep jealousy towards him. And then he said something very important, He says, فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. The shaitan is a mortal enemy, a deep enemy of the human being. And subhanallah, shaitan despises the bushra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he despises those who have this ability, this gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He will use min shayateen al-bashar to attack them. And subhanallah, you see what happened in the story of Yousuf alayhi salam, the fitna that he underwent, the trials and the tribulations that he underwent based on this dream. Based on this dream, subhanallah. And if you read fi tafsir ibn Kathir, he said they didn't know about this dream, He didn't share it with them. But because of their deep hate and their jealousy towards their brother Yousuf and his brother Binyamin, they plotted against him. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes us to another dream in the surah. And this is where it gets very interesting. This is where you begin to see the wisdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Yousuf alayhi salam. When he entered the sijn, the prison, وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنُ فَتَيَانِ, 2 young men entered the prison with him. They got the same bid. They were all 3 of them sentenced. The first one, قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا. I see myself. And this kalima ara is present. I see myself. So this means that this person is either seeing this dream reoccurring, it's constant every night, and you can have it during the day like we mentioned, or it is I am seeing the dream right now as though I am living it, meaning it is so vivid. ما نقص شيء, no detail is omitted. إني أرى, I see. I am seeing the dream. إني أراني أعصر خمرا. I'm seeing myself in this dream and I am pressing wine. وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه. I see myself holding bread on my head. I'm carrying bread on my head and the birds are eating at it. Now, Yousuf alayhi salatu wasalam, before he even went into the tafsir or the ta'bir, he took this opportunity to make da'wah. He took this opportunity to make da'wah. First of all, the 2 men that saw these dreams, they're not even Muslim. That's why he preached to them Tawheed. And he told them, على ملة أبائه, على التوحيد. And he mentioned to them about not worshipping arbab and idols min dunillah. And then he says, Ya sahibay sijn. So after introducing them to La ilaha illallah, after building that bond with them, with Tawheed, then he gave them the solution, the answer. And then he began it with some beautiful, very polite words, Ya sahibay sijn. O comrades of prison. So they can be comrades, they can be friends, companions of a journey or an experience. In this situation, my friends from prison, my homies in prison. So he's doing a bid with these guys. This is real, because you build the bond with people if you do time with them. So he says, Ya sahibay sijn. Listen to this. Amma ahadukuma. He doesn't say, yani, maybe perhaps this is the hikmah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Anbiya and the Rasul. Because it is wahi. أما أحدكما فيسقي ربه خمرا. The first one, he will live. He will be set free. And he will pour wine for his master. He doesn't mention who his master is. But he knows for a fact that he will pour wine for a master. Subhanallah. وأما الآخر فيصلب فتأكل الطير من رأسه. He will receive the death penalty and the birds will eat from his head. Now, if I told you that this term still exists today, would you believe me? In the street lingo, I don't know if you guys know anything about the streets, but if I told you there's bread on your head, what does that mean? What does that mean? There's money on your head. There's bread on your head. This is a terminology of old. And the bread, if you go to Misr, for example, what do they call it? What do they call bread in Muslim? No, that's one. Aish. It's life. It's life. Because it's a basic sustenance and nourishment for the mass populations. So look at how Yousuf a.s. saw this in the dream. He says, he didn't say, I dropped the bread. He says, إِنِّي أَحْمِلُ فَوْقَ رَأْسِي خُبْزًا تَأْكُلُ الطَّيْرُ مِنْهُ. Huh? So if the birds weren't involved and they weren't pecking and eating from it, that means the guy's living, he's going to live. But because تَأْكُلُ الطَّيْرُ مِنْهُ, they're eating from his life. It means his life is done, it's over. There's bread on your head. You get it? SubhanAllah. This is the ilham that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Anbiya and the Rusul. And he said it without any doubt. Without any doubt. And subhanAllah, if you read the tafsir, the one who got the bad news, obviously, he's like, actually, I didn't see anything. I don't know what you're talking about. فقال يوسف عليه السلام قضي الأمر الذي فيه تستفتيان. Meaning it's done. You can't take it back now. Because as soon as he heard the bad news, he says, what? I'm going to get my head chopped, and it's going to be put on a peg, and the birds are going to eat from my head? I didn't see anything. I'll take it back. قضي الأمر. It's done. Huh? So, subhanAllah, as you continue the story, and he says to the one that he وقال الذي ظن. كلمة ظن, by the way, it's used in terms of uncertainty or certainty. In this term, it's certainty. وقال للذي ظن. He said to the one that he was certain, أنه ناج منهما. He says to him, he says, اذكرني عند ربك. Mention me to whoever your master is. Tell him my story, how I'm in this prison wrongfully. ولكن أنساه الشيطان ذكر ربه. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He introduces shaitan into this. Why? Because the fitna, the bala. Shaitan will never leave you. Shaitan, in la'alla, inshallah, in the near future, we're going to do halaqa on khutuwat shaitan. Ya habibi, ya azizi. Shaitan will never leave you. يطوف عليك طواف. And the stronger you get in iman, the stronger he sends more shayateen وأبالسة يفتنوك, to pull you. The Anbiya had the most severe afarit to try to pull them away from the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So don't think for a minute that you're going to be good. وخلاص لا. إن الشيطان كان لكم عدو فاتخذوه عدوا. استعيذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Wherever you go, before you leave your house, Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah. Make sure you say your adhkar. Make sure you read your adhkar. I always say this to people. How is it that you're going out on a battlefield of this dunya every day and every night, and you don't let hassan nafsak? You're literally dressed in orange, you painted yourself in orange, and you're walking out into the battlefield. Hassan nafsak. Sta'id billah. You have to take every precaution, every chance to invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to protect and fortify yourself, because shaitan is an enemy, and subhanAllah, we see this. فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. Shaitan made that man forget. Made that man forget, and forgetfulness is from shaitan. وَمَا أَنْسَانِهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانُ أَنْ أَذْكُرَهُ. And then we get to the most interesting ta'bir. And subhanAllah, every time I read into this, it's more beneficial. وقال الملك إني أرى 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخر يابسات. Again, the same word, the same phrase, inni ara. I see, I'm seeing current right now. But he's talking to the mala, he's talking to his wise men, his scholars. The entire hierarchy is around the malik, the king. He says, inni ara, I am seeing. Meaning, I'm seeing this on a constant basis, habitual, every night, every nap I take. Or I'm seeing it as if though it's live right now. I don't omit any detail. You remember what I said about the ru'ya? It is vivid. You will not omit any detail, from the smell, to the sound, to the feel, to the taste, to the texture, you will remember everything. This is what a ru'ya is. So he says, the king says to his mala, and these are men of knowledge, prestige, the higher upper class. He says, I see and I'm seeing 7 cows that are thick, siman, yani they're well fed. يأكلهن 7 عجاف. And 7 skinny cows, and they're eating, they're engulfing the 7 fat cows. So each skinny cow consumes a fat cow. And we know that cows are herbivores, they're not carnivores. But subhanAllah, in this dream, they're consuming their kind. And then he says, وَسَبْعَ سُنْبُلَاتٍ خُضُرٍ وَأُخْرَى يَابِسَاتٍ. And 7 seeds that are green and lush, and 7 other ones that are completely dry and dead. يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأ أَفْتُونِي فِي رُؤْيَاي. And the talab huna, the su'al, the way he's asking them, he's saying, you have to solve this for me. Meaning this is troubling him. It's bothered him. يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأ أَفْتُونِي فِي رُؤْيَاي. Yani, this, you know when something bothers you and you really want to solve it, so you call someone who's pro, who's about it, you know? You call someone who knows what he's doing. So you say, I need this fixed. You take your car, you've been having issues with it, you take it to the best mechanic, I need this fixed now. Doesn't matter, just fix it. They could have said anything. They could have made anything up. ولكن لله حكمة بالغة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, His hikmah is infinite. It is astounding. انظروا إلى حكمة ربكم. They could have said anything and the king would have been like, okay, that makes sense, صح? ولكن Allah Azza wa Jal, He بين العجز فيهم. He made them look and feel as if though they're incompetent, which they were. Because what did they say? They said, he says, أفتوني في رؤيا إن كنتم للرؤيا تعبرون. If you truly are masters of this. So meaning there are people there of knowledge, people there of ta'bir al-ru'ya, people there of wisdom. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made them completely stunned silent in the sense of their incompetence. And they said, قالوا أضغاث أحلام. أضغاث أحلام, meaning مجمع. These are a collection. Dhilf is when when you collect straws or grass. This one is short, this one is dry, this one is green. This is يعني, it's a group of jumbled goods. ولكن they didn't say أضغاث رؤيا. قالوا أضغاث أحلام. So they basically told them, what you saw is not a ru'ya. This is a hulum. This is from your nafs. This is from nothing. It's just a bunch of mixtures. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِتَأْوِيلِ الْأَحْلَامِ بِعَلِمِينَ. And we don't know how to give ta'bir of ahlam. We usually give ta'bir of ru'ya. They could have said anything. Ya ibadallah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ذو حكمة بالغة وقدرة مقتدرة, He made them look like fools. وقال الذي نجا منهما وادكر بعد أمتنا أنبئكم بتأويله فأرسلون. The young man who was pouring the wine and he was listening to this, بعد أمة. Ummah. And if you look at the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu ardah, he mentions, how long do you think Yousuf alayhi salam was in jail for? How long? How long? How many years? 7? That was one narration. How many? Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Turjuman al-Quran, 14 years. 14 years falsely imprisoned alayhi salam. And this, the man who was saved and who was pouring the wine for 14 years, Shaytan ashghalah. He made him forget about Yousuf alayhi salam. He made him forget about the one who guided him in prison. 14 years. All he had to remember was Yousuf, Siddiq. This is how Shaytan is. He's working overtime. And you are working less than part-time. A lot of us, we think, we'll just pray the 5 daily, khalas. Shaytan is working overtime. While you're sleeping, he's around you, While you're in salah, he's around you. Everywhere you go. 14 years, this one shaitan's objective, لكي ينسيه, to make Yusuf alayhi salam stay in jail. He made this young man forget about him. وقال الذي ذكر بعد أمة. Then this man, he remembered. He says, أنا أنبئكم. I will tell you what this means. Yani, for him to say this openly and loudly, he has to be certain. Because not only, he's not from the hierarchy, he's not from the top echelon or the wise men or the scholars or the la. He's not from the mala. He's just pouring wine. And he speaks out. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him this guidance. He says, أَنَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ. I will get you the information. فَأَرْسِلُونَ. Send me. Send me now. That's how certain I am. Send me now. بِتَأْوِيلِهِ فَأَرْسِلُونَ. When he comes to Yusuf alayhi salam, this is a beautiful moment in history that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cited. Because you need to understand, and I need to understand, that what you say and do goes a long way. So this one instant where Yusuf alayhi salam, he helped these men out in jail. He guided them towards La ilaha illallah. He was kind to them. كان محسن, كان لطيفا, كان كريما, كان معلما. The man, as soon as he greeted Yusuf, يوسف أيها الصديق. He didn't say Yusuf لقد صدقت أو يعني لقد كنت تعلمنا بالصدق أيها الصديق. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned, he says, الرجل يكاد يصدق. The man will tell truth after truth. Nothing but truth rolls on his tongue. يتحرى الصدق. يعني he's habitual with it. حتى يكتب عند الله الصديق. أسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم أن يكتبنا في الصديقين ويجعلنا من المخلصين المخلصين. قل آمين. The more you tell the truth and you live by it and you preach it and you practice it and you walk the walk and you talk the talk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decree you as a صديق. الصديق يعني ليس الذي يقول الصدق أو الذي يصدق. صديق. This is a martaba aliyah. He says, O Yusuf, you are the truthful one, the one consistent and habitual upon the truth. Aftina. Aftina. Please advise us. Give us the fatwa. في 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات. There's another point here. The man didn't say 14 cows, 7 of which are fat. He didn't say 14 seeds and the last 7 were dry. No. He mentioned the ru'ya as he heard it, word by word, letter by letter. And this is very important. Because sometimes you will see something and you will tell your mom, and then she will tell your aunt, but then the ru'ya has changed. Because you know how women like to add and minus things. So be careful. Whenever you're transmitting information, you transmit it exactly as you received it. And he says to him, and we're going to conclude right now. He says to him, وَسَبْعِ سُنبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخْرَى يَابِسَاتٍ لَعَلِّي أَرْجِعُ إِلَى النَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. I must. It is pressing. It is something of immediate. It needs immediate attention. I need to go back. Why did he say that? Because he spoke out of turn. One, he spoke fil mala, in the king's kingdom. He spoke out of turn. And he said something, and he was so sure about it, now he wants to prove it. Because he knows now his head is on the chopping block. Because, first of all, you interrupted our majlis. You said you can bring something. So he's telling Yusuf, he says, I got to go back and give them something. لَعَلِّي أَرْجِعُ لَنَا. Another understanding is, this matter is very important. The entire qawm, Misr, is all concerned regarding the king's dream. Because everyone has heard it and no one understands it. It is a very pressing matter, and this is something that I have to get back to them. In this instance, what did Yousuf alayhi salam do? Did he give him nasiha? Did he give him da'wah? No. Right away, because it's pressing, he gave him the answer. And there's another point here. The king of Egypt, was he a Muslim? No. He was a kafir. So this answers the question, can a kafir see a dream that is a ru'ya? Yes. Yes. Fir'aun, if you read, he saw a ru'ya that a child from Banu Israel will overtake him. And exactly what happened. صدقت رؤيته ولكن كذب الكافر. You see? So Yousuf alayhi salam, he didn't say, oh, I've been here for 14 years, you forgot about me, وينك وكذا. لا. Right away. قال تزرعون 7 سنين دأبا فما حصدتم فذروه في سنبله إلا قليلا مما تأكلون ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك 7 شداد يأكلن ما قدمتم لهن إلا قليلا مما تحصنون. Right away, he says 7 years will come. These next 7 years are going to be flourishing, lush and green, and the crops will be beautiful. Everything will come and fall into order, into place. ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك 7 شداد. After that, 7 years of extreme hardship and drought. And you will only eat what you have put aside for them. Because from the 7 years that flourished, you need to conserve. He says, whatever you take from the good 7 years, دعوه في سنبله. Leave it within its shell. Don't peel the seed. Why? Because so it doesn't go bad. And then he says, ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فيه يغاث الناس وفيه يعصرون. The ulama, they said, why did Yousuf alayhi salam add the 15th year? First of all, the cows, al-baqar, al-siman wal-ijaf, they are symbolic of years. The cows are actually years. Because remember, the skinny cows ate the fat cows. Okay? So the cows are years. And if you look at, for the farmers, they say a cow reaches its prime or its actual full age when it's 7. And the sanabil are the green, what you eat, the agriculture. So he linked the two. So we have 7 fruitful, lush years of rain and agriculture and yielding crop, and then 7 drought. And then he added a 15th year. ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فيه يغاث الناس وفيه يعصرون. Why did he add the 15th? Because from the 7 there was another 7. One extreme to the other extreme, so that means it's going to go again, change back to al-ghayth. And why did he say ghayth and not matar? Because when it rains doesn't mean it's just amazing. No. Sometimes it rains so much that it floods the crops and it destroys them. Sometimes it rains so much that the crops, they don't yield. They don't germinate. So Rasulullah ﷺ, he says in the hadith, he says, the drought is not when it doesn't rain. For it could rain and it could rain, however, you don't get any crops. That is why he used to always ask, Allahumma aghithna, not amtirna, aghithna, meaning benefit us with the rain. Okay? Then he says here, ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ عَامٌ, the year after the 7 droughts, there will come the year of good. يُغَاثُ النَّاسِ, the matar will come and will flourish. وَفِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ, and they will produce wine and fruit drinks, and they will basically squeeze the fruits. So this is an insight for you and I to understand ta'bir al-ru'ya. The last thing I want to mention, and this is probably the first time you heard it. عن أبي إسحاق عن أبي الزناد عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه وأرضاه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يرحم الله يوسف You probably never heard this before. And if you look at the tafsir, it is amazing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says here, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on my brother Yousuf. Because when you read, after the young man goes back to the king and he tells him, this is the ta'bir of Yousuf, this is what he said, Al-Malik, the king, was amazed. He said, bring him to me. This makes sense. Bring this man to me. And remember again what I said, all those wise men, they could have said anything. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this was the hikmah that he used to bring Yousuf out of jail. So when the king heard the ta'bir of Yousuf alayhi salam, he says, bring him to me. So when the man came to Yousuf, he says, the king calls you. What did he say? Did he say, okay, let's go, that's my ticket? What did he say?
Clear my name.
قال ارجع إلى ربك فاسأله ما بال النسوة. Go back. Go back to your king and ask him, what of the women? اللاتي قطعن أيديهن. What happened with that? How did that happen? He didn't want to come out of jail guilty. This is after 14 years. Just imagine it was you, 14 years falsely imprisoned. This is your chance to just get up and go and get not only free but rewarded. No, I'm sitting right here because I don't want to walk out of jail guilty. I want to walk out innocent. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith, he says, subhanallah, he's amazed at his brother Yousuf because he said, if that was me, I would have walked out. But no, Yousuf alayhi salam, he wanted to maintain his innocence, to prove his innocence before he emerged out into the world. These are hikam wa ibar that we need to take. You have to have pride to be a Muslim. You have to have izzah for this deen. You have to learn and implement these aspects because we live in a time right now, يعني لا شك, it is very difficult. نسأل الله أن يعيننا أجمعين. نسأل الله أن يثبتنا أجمعين. But حبيبي وعزيزي, understand that if you don't take the effort to connect with your deen, to build that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to follow in the manhaj and the etiquette of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then you are in loss. You will be lost in this world of fitan wa mihan. We need to come back to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to see these beautiful signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. بارك الله لي ولكم بما سمعنا من الذكر الحكيم ونسأل الله أن يبارك لنا في ذلك. سبحانك الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. عذرا إذا أطلت وعفوا إذا أخطأت ما أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.